Your 20s is your most important time for your money to grow. Your 20s can either make you financially free or leave you broke at your 30s depending on how you do it. Let's discuss a plan for you to get started investing in your 20s. This way you can be on your way to financial freedom. Before we get into the plan, let's first discuss what most 20-something-year-olds do. And just so you know, I'm 28, so I understand this because I used to be it and have tons of friends that still act this way. So most people go to school and get a job. That's totally okay. It's actually really good if you go to school to get a high-paying job. This way you have a lot of money to invest. That's exactly why I became a software engineer. But there's two things wrong that most people in their 20s do that cause them to be broke by the time they're 30. And I've made some of these mistakes myself, so pay attention. The first problem is that most people in their 20s don't spend their money wisely. They end up spending it on things like happy hours, paying really high rents to live in a very expensive area of the city. Like me, I paid $2,100 a month of rent to live in Lower East Side Manhattan. Then they start buying stuff they don't need, like subscriptions to every single TV show out there. When I was 24, I was making $114,000 a year working as a software engineer. And instead of saving tons of money, I decided to live in downtown Manhattan and spend $2,100 a month on rent, and I went out 3 times a week, and I would go out and buy designer clothes, which left me broke. This is so wrong. Instead of buying stuff you don't need, ask yourself, what can I do to invest this money so the money I make from the investment can help me afford the thing I want? For example, let's say I wanted to lease a Tesla Model 3. My Model 3 costs $523 a month. Now, if the Model 3 costs $523, then I need to ask myself, what asset can I buy? What investment can I invest in that would actually allow me to make $523 a month? This way, it's a net zero. Not only that, but your 20s is your best time to invest because you have time on your side. You got time to write out all of the mistakes in the market. You got time to make better decisions. You'll have more money at the end of the day by having your money work for you rather than deciding to invest a lot more later. And let me give you an example. If you invested $10K today and you waited 40 years, that same amount would be worth over $217,000. But let's say you waited 20 years and instead of $10K, you decided to put $20K in. That $20K would only be worth $93,000 at the same date that the $10K that you invested today would be worth $217,000. That's because of compound interest. So the first problem you gotta solve is to stop spending money on things you don't need and instead saving the money and using it to buy assets. The second issue is that 20-something-year-olds are told to invest in areas that don't give them the highest and the quickest returns. Most 20-year-olds, and this is what I was told to do, is max out my 401k and my Roth IRA so my employee contributions were equal. I was told that those were the best investments. They have their advantages, but in reality, there's so many more things that are better to invest in and have quicker returns and don't involve you waiting till you're 65 to get any of the money. Or whatever it is, like 59 and a half. I don't know about you, but I want to live a life that I want to live now, not in 100 years from now when I can finally retire. So investing in things like businesses, crypto, and real estate allows you to make a higher return and build up some passive income so you can eventually leave that job. And make sure you don't expect your first attempt at business to succeed either. My first time, I tried an Amazon FBA business when I was 22, right outside of college, and I lost $21,000 my first year. It was me and my partner, but don't get me started on that story. It wasn't until I started investing in rental properties that I start making any money from business at all, and that was 4 years later. See, if you invest in your Roth IRA, you get to make no money now. Your Roth IRA might go up in value, but you can't actually touch any of that money. With real estate, you can buy a property today and next month be making $500 a month in passive income. And you can use that money however you like. I suggest that you reinvest it to make even more, but that's just my opinion. Those properties can make you financially free in 3 to 5 years. So remember these two things. First, don't spend your money right away. Instead, save it and invest in assets. And 2, make sure you're investing in the right assets. Now let's break down a little bit more on how you invest your money in the right places. I'm a real estate investor, so I'm obviously a little bit biased, but I think real estate investing is the absolute best way to build passive income and have control over your asset. See, with the business, it's very hard to make it passive, but you can make it very active and have a lot of control. And with crypto, you can't really have too much control, but you can make it really passive. The best part about being in your 20s too, and investing in real estate, is that you can actually take advantage of a lot of loans where you can buy properties for very little money down. See, most people, if you own a home already, you have to put 20 to 25% down to buy an investment property. That's a lot more money. On a $200,000 house, that's like going from $7,000 down to $40,000 down. Because you're young and flexible, you can take on a loan called an FHA loan that allows you to get into a house with only 3.5% down. That means you can buy a $300,000 house with $10,500 plus closing costs. And if you're working a full-time job, you can really save that much in a year. Not only that, but you can add seller concessions So this way the seller can pay your closing costs so you can only come down with the down payment. And then you can even add down payment assistance program where the government will actually cover up to 5% of your closing costs and down payment if you live in the property for a certain amount of time. So let's say, for example, you're paying $1,500 a month to live in that expensive apartment in the city. But now instead you buy a house and you rent it out to your friends. Let's say your entire mortgage, taxes, and insurance all cost you about $1,500 per month. You live in a 4-bedroom house. You live in 1 bedroom and you rent out the other 3 bedrooms. You charge each of your friends $500 to live in the other bedrooms. Your cost is $1,500 and you make $1,500, so you live for free. This is the first thing you should do, and this is called house hacking. So now you're saving $1,500 that you would have been spending every single month for 12 months. That's $18,000 that you save at the end of the year. Then at the end of the year, you can move out and buy another property with 3.5% down using the $18,000 you saved on top of what you saved before. And when you move out of the first one, you can rent out the bedroom you were living in. So now if you charge $500 for that room, you can make $500 a month in passive income. And if you keep doing this over and over, you get 1 new property a year. By the time you're 30, you're gonna have 10 properties all under your name, all that you got for lower down payments because you decided to live in them and upgrade, and each one making you $500 a month. That's $5K a monthly income from real estate investing. You might need to complete some refinances and get a few other types of loans, but this is totally doable. I was able to get 6 properties in 2 years. You could definitely do this in 10. And not only that, let's say, for example, you have $50,000 in equity in each property. That means your net worth is gonna be $500,000 by the time you're 30. And this is all totally doable with a full-time job. What's gonna happen is by the time you're 30, most of your friends are going to be getting married and spent all their money on a ring and a wedding. All of your friends that were spending their entire 20s just partying and traveling and not really having much to do and not really having much invested. And so you will be able to enjoy the rest of your life while your friends are stuck working a job just so they could support the lifestyle they built. Now, if you want to learn how to buy your first rental property and learn everything you need to know, then make sure to click the video on screen to watch the video where I explain each individual step to help you get started. I'll see you over there. Peace.